Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we spend our lives surrounded by melody. It feels like breathing, so natural, so simple. But what if I told you that the tune you're humming right now is the end result of thousands of years of culture, technology, and some seriously big ideas? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on melody.
We've all heard that phrase, right? Music is the universal language. It's such a beautiful thought, the idea that a melody can just float across borders and connect with anyone, anywhere. But is it really true, or is that just a nice thing we like to say? That's the question we're really digging into today.
Now, to help us on this journey, we're going to borrow a lens from a field called ethnomusicology. And don't worry about the fancy name, the core idea is actually super simple. You can't separate music from the people who make it. A sound, a melody, it isn't just notes in a vacuum. It's a product of human culture, of our ideas and the way we live.
So, to test this whole universal idea, let's start with a smaller question. Has melody even meant the same thing in one single tradition over time? Let's take a quick run through Western music history. Because if we find that the very idea of melody was a moving target even here, well, that universal theory might start to look a little shaky. Just look at how much it changed. Way back in antiquity, melody was basically a tool for rituals. Then, for hundreds of years in the Middle Ages, the absolute ideal was monody. You know, like a Gregorian chant, just one pure single vocal line. But then, bam, around the 10th century, a total revolution called polyphony kicks in. And suddenly, you've got multiple melodies weaving in and out of each other. Fast forward to someone like Bach in the Baroque era, and melody has become this structural engine, a tiny little motive that can power a whole complex masterpiece. The very job description for melody just kept getting rewritten.
Right? So think about it, if melody couldn't even stay the same inside one single cultural tradition, what are the chances it's going to be the same when we look across the entire globe? If it's not universal across time, it's probably not universal across space either.
Okay, so now let's take that idea and go on a bit of a world tour. We're going to do a few quick stops in some very different places to see just how radical the idea of melody can get. And you might want to buckle up because this is where our assumptions really get challenged.
First stop, India. Here, the entire concept of melody revolves around something called a raga. And trust me, a raga is so much more than just a scale. It's more like a recipe for creating a very specific feeling, a whole emotional world.
I mean, the word raga itself literally means color or passion, which tells you everything you need to know. Each raga isn't just a set of notes. It's tied to a specific emotion, a rasa, like love or courage or peace. And it gets deeper. Ragas are also linked to specific times of day or even seasons of the year. So a melody here isn't just a catchy tune. It's a tool for tuning into a specific spiritual and emotional state.
All right, now let's jump over to traditional China, where the whole philosophy just gets turned on its head. Here, melody wasn't primarily about human emotion. Nope, it was about connecting the human body to the universe itself.
And this is just wild. Check out this table. In their traditional 5-note scale, each tone wasn't just a sound, it was a cosmic code. The note gong was linked to the element earth, the spleen, and the quality of nobility. Shang was metal, the lungs, and righteousness. So in this worldview, music is literally a form of medicine. It's a way to balance your internal energy by getting in sync with the cosmos.
For our last stop on this whirlwind tour, let's go to sub-Saharan Africa. Here we find yet another job for melody, one where it often plays second fiddle to two even bigger forces, rhythm and language.
In a lot of musical traditions here, the main event is the incredibly complex layering of different rhythms, what we call polyrhythm. Melody often has to follow the rhythm's lead. But the truly mind-blowing part is the connection to tonal languages. See, in these languages, the pitch of your voice can change a word's meaning completely. So the melody of a song is literally baked into the lyrics. And this is how instruments like the famous talking drum can actually talk, by perfectly mimicking the melodic shape of spoken phrases.
Okay, so we've seen that what a melody is and what it's for is all over the map. The big question now is why? What are the invisible forces shaping these tunes, making one about emotion, another about the cosmos, and another about language? Let's look under the hood.
One of the biggest factors is just how is the music passed on? Think about it. In an oral tradition, before you can write music down, a song only survives if people can remember it. So melodies have to be kind of simple, memorable, easy to pass down. But the second you invent musical notation, you totally free melody from the limits of human memory. Now you can build these huge, complicated structures, and the goal shifts from just preservation to, formal complexity.
And then there's technology, specifically how we tune our instruments. For centuries, Western music had this huge problem. An old system called Pythagorean tuning made melodies sound perfect, but the chords sounded, well, pretty rough. So then they tried another system that made the chords sound great, but you could only play in a couple of keys. The solution we all use today, equal temperament, was actually a giant compromise. We basically agreed to make every single note a tiny bit out of tune so that we could have the flexibility to play in any key we wanted.
Which brings us right up to today. We're living in this hyper-connected world of streaming, social media. You know the drill. So, is technology finally creating that one single universal melody we thought we had all along?
So are we all just going to end up humming the same tune? Well, the answer is more complex, and honestly, a lot more interesting than that. We're not really getting one melody, but we are getting one single stage, this massive, interconnected global soundscape where for the first time, all of these different musical ideas can meet and interact.
I mean, think about it. Digital platforms have just vaporized the old geographic borders. A melody can pop up on TikTok and literally circle the globe in a weekend. And this doesn't create one boring, uniform sound. It creates an explosion of new hybrids in fusion genres. And what's really fascinating is that even in this global mashup, that spark of cultural authenticity is often the secret ingredient that makes a melody truly connect with people everywhere.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? A melody today can be like a virus, in a good way. It can break free from where it was born, travel the world, and carry its unique cultural DNA with it, inspiring and changing things everywhere it goes.
So after all this, here's the big takeaway. Melody isn't a universal language. It's something way cooler. It's a living, breathing, constantly changing map of the human experience. It reflects who we are, what we believe, how we connect, and the tools we build.
Which really just leaves us with one final exciting question to chew on. In this new global soundscape, where any sound can meet any other, where traditions are constantly blending and reinventing themselves, what do you think the melody of tomorrow is going to sound like? Thanks for tuning in.